We are delighted to welcome back Nadine Atkinson-Flowers, an immigration attorney who practices in both the United States and Jamaica. We're going to discuss the Trump administration's immigration plan and how it will affect the Caribbean and its diaspora. Nadine, thank you again for joining us.
Hi, thank you very much for having me back, Janet. Hoping all is well.
Yeah, okay, well, it's as well as it can be, right?
Indeed.
Let's keep our fingers crossed and
Absolutely.
keep our faith. Yeah, okay. So, our first question is, I'd like to ask you first about TPS, right? About the
Mhm.
temporary protected status immigrants. Now, outgoing U.S. President Joe Biden recently extended protections for migrants from Ukraine, Sudan, Venezuela, and El Salvador. But what about the Caribbean? What does it look like for Caribbean migrants and
Well,
immigrants that are already here?
well, as it relates to TPS, the only Caribbean, as in English speaking, French speaking, because Haiti is French, or Dutch speaking, Caribbean, Spanish speaking, would be Haiti. I
Mhm.
don't know what's going to happen as it relates to TPS for Haiti, because you might have heard some of the posturing prior to the election about unfounded stories of people eating cats and all of those things. It was directly related to Haitian
Yeah.
immigrants in the country. So I don't know what's going to happen as it relates to Haitians and TPS, because Haiti is in the throes of a crisis, and TPS really
Mhm.
for persons from countries that are having displacement, whether it's humanitarian, so wars such as Ukraine, or it's natural disasters such as when we had the earthquake in Haiti. Short answer, not sure what they're planning to do with TPS, but if the posture of the government is anything to go by, it may well be that a lot of countries are going to find that they don't have TPS after much longer.
Okay. So I guess he's able to do that.
Yes, because the orders that the president can sign as it relates to those things, and I'm sure that they will be making a very robust list of things to do and do very quickly. The first 100 days of any administration is like, their markers. So I'm sure they're going to be putting a lot of things in place between now and then.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, we heard it today.
Huh?
Um, he, yeah, he was sworn in today. So
Yes.
today is inauguration day. Now, Donald Trump did say that he wants to end birthright citizenship. And that's another topic that is of concern. And that means children born in the US to non-immigrant persons will not be considered an American citizen. How do you see that playing out? Um, it's a
Right. Well,
constitutional right, isn't it?
as it stands now, once a child is born in the United States, the immigration status, as it were, of their parents is irrelevant. That has been for years and years based on a court case from, I think, somewhere in the late 1890s. Now, this incoming administration is saying that that is actually an incorrect interpretation of
Oh,
what we had perceived as a
mhm.
right. And so they are moving directly. I believe that's probably one of the first things they're going to try to do to limit exactly who can become an American citizen at the soil. Their posture is, if a child is born to parents who are undocumented, any which
Mm,
undocumented, whether, come across the border without papers, stay here without papers, come legally, lose your status, whatever. As long as the parents don't have legal status at the current moment, they are going to be moving towards ousting this birthright citizenship. Of course, we expect a lot of challenges in the court, but
yeah.
that is going to be something that they have been very vocal about. And I think the president actually mentioned it in his inauguration address today. definitely something at top of list, as it were, for them.
Okay. So now children, right, of naturalized American citizens seem to be another worrisome issue, right? Children of green card holders.
Well,
That's
how do you mean? How do you mean?
okay. Well, we know that we have immigrants that come here, right? And are not naturalized, but they have children, right? Those children, I heard, are probably in jeopardy because the parents are not naturalized citizens. But the concern is for those people that are naturalized American citizens, they're, how does it look for those children?
Well, I haven't heard and I haven't read anything where it suggests to me that that's going to be an issue. I
Oh,
think the government's priority is to try and limit and make it less attractive for persons who would come here and then have children, knowing that as even though it is going to take a minimum of 21 years for those children to be able to petition for them, apparently the government is of the view that that is something people are thinking about actively, and they are limited. I haven't seen anything to suggest that parents who come here and naturalize and they have minor children who are green card holders living with them, that they are going to be in any jeopardy. That's not the group that I think they're going to be targeted. So
okay.
that's a safe
All,
group.
all right. I have another one now, right? Is it true that a non-citizen spouse who is married to an American citizen, right, can be deported?
Oh, yes. Oh,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, we heard that. Okay. But
Yes.
additionally, the spouse, the American citizen spouse, have the option of going back, being, not deported, but actually going back, following, joining their non-citizen spouse that got
That's
deported.
that is let me maybe I should back up a little bit. If you are a US citizen and your spouse is a non-citizen, non-US person, as it were.
Okay.
Let's say he or she came here as with some kind of lawful status, student, work permit to work, whether it's at NASA or to work in agriculture on an apple farm or somewhere.
Mhm.
So that's one group. But you also have persons whose spouses came to the US, let's say, for example, via a border. Doesn't have to be that southern border. They could have walked over from Canada or whatever.
Yeah.
Do not have and never had any legal status in the United States. The government, the Immigration and Naturalization Act treats those persons differently. For the ones who came in with some kind of legal status at the time that they came in, they can remain here in
Okay.
circumstances and become green card holders. For those persons who never had any kind of status when they were coming in, the law
Mhm.
stands now that those persons have to go overseas. Let's say you're from Jamaica, you would have to go back to Jamaica after getting a waiver and
Mhm.
would do your green card interview at the embassy in Kingston.
Mhm.
Months ago, the Biden administration was trying to put something in place where you had been married for over 10 years and you didn't have any issues with the criminal law, you could remain here and do that.
Mhm.
That to court, and the Biden administration, as it was at the time, lost. So
Okay.
as it stands now, the persons they're back to the two routes that existed
Mhm.
before. If it is that unfortunately your spouse is going to be deported, you have the option, and the case law has said it, the judges have said it, you're welcome to go back with your spouse if you wish. We
Mhm.
issue with that. Of course,
But
perhaps
they can actually separate the couple.
Yes, because if they're deporting me, they don't have to, there's nothing they can do to my US citizen spouse. Because my US citizen spouse has lawful status, whether born here or naturalized here. But it is the non-citizen who is in jeopardy. If you want to go back with your non-citizen spouse, the government is not going to stop you. That's a short version of that.
Wow.
Yes.
So is there any chance of that non-citizen spouse that has been deported being able to, get legal entry back into the United States?
It's a long process. As it stands,
Okay.
one of the things that I think the government is going to do is to try to shorten the process for persons who are currently in the removal proceeding. As it stands,
Okay.
you have a few opportunities each time the government, the courts rule against you to appeal and so on. It is my view based on the posture of the government and what people are saying and some of the things that the now government has been putting out, that they're going to seek to shorten some of those. So
Okay.
will find themselves out of the country quicker than they had actually expected. And when you are deported, it may well take many years for you to come back. For some person, and if they had criminal issues, they may never come back.
I'm trying to figure out how are they going to go about that process. That's going to take a while too,
It
to
will.
actually seek out and gather up all those non-citizen,
Persons who are already in contact with the system, because despite the rhetoric, many persons who are in contact with immigration, the immigration system, they do go into ICE when they need to check in. They do go to their court hearings. The statistics show that many persons actually show up for court hearings, far more are led to believe. But when those persons going for their immigration hearings, they can be picked up, put into detention,
wow.
and to that pipeline towards heading from whichever countries they are citizens of.
Mm.
It's not going to be too difficult for them, for those persons who are already in removal proceedings. The difficulty may be with persons who perhaps the system doesn't know about. As we would say in Jamaica, they jumped bail. So, they were and they decided, I am not going back. Those persons.
Yeah.
So it is you and me who we're seeking to remain here, trying to do what we're supposed to do, trying to make it right. We're probably the
Yeah.
ones that will get caught up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So there is a possibility that I could get deported, huh?
Well, if you're a citizen and you are a green card holder or any other status, and you do not come into contact with the criminal law, you should be fine. The problem is that many persons have been in this country for years as green card holders, and they have this mistaken notion, especially Caribbean people, have this mistaken notion that if they become US citizens, they lose their citizenship from whatever Caribbean countries they're from. Not true. Jamaica,
They don't.
citizenship, Barbados, Trinidad, St. Lucia, Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, they all recognize dual citizenship, as does the United States. There are some countries that don't recognize dual citizenship, but that's not for Caribbean people. The beauty of doing your citizenship as a Caribbean person in the US is that you now become afforded the privileges of a citizenship, of a citizen. I mean, you can vote, run for office, but significantly, if you get caught up in the criminal law, for whatever reason, you will not be deported because you are now a citizen. If it is that you are a resident and you get caught up in the criminal law, you stand the possibility of being deported. And it doesn't matter that people will say arrogantly, oh, I cannot be deported because I don't do anything wrong. Trouble finds us. We don't necessarily go seeking trouble. So when trouble finds us, and we're in the court system for whatever criminal law offense, and they check on our immigration status, that triggers immigration proceedings. So you can be in two sets at once as a green card holder or any other
Mhm.
in this country.
Okay.
You have to be cognizant of that. Last year, 800,000 people became citizens throughout the country, and there are
Mhm.
million people, USCIS indicated, who are able to become citizens. So that's literally a drop in the bucket.
Mm. Yeah.
Most of the opportunities that are there now.
Wow. Okay. I think a lot of us still don't understand the criteria that that they're going to use, in determining who's going to be deported,
Well,
So
look at it for deportation, a lot of the persons are already in the pipeline. Former administrations used criteria such as you have a serious criminal law issue. So you were accused of 3 murders and you have been found guilty after a trial. You are most likely going to be deported. But there are also...
you're not going to be imprisoned here. You're not going to be imprisoned. You'll just be deported.
You'll be imprisoned here, and at the end of the sentence, you will be deported.
Okay. Okay.
What most nations have done for many, many years. What the fear is now is that persons may have, quote unquote, a small offense, as we might say in the Caribbean, something little, something small. And those persons may well now find themselves in this line for deportation. So we are waiting to hear what this government is going to be saying, are the priorities for deportation, as it were. Is it that they're going to be saying, okay, any person that have a serious crime attached to their names and they've served the sentence, we're putting them in the deportation line? Or is it that they're saying anyone at all who we find, once you don't have any status, we're putting you in.
Okay.
So we have to wait. I think in the next few days, we'll hear exactly what.
We'll know what's going on, because you know what he said today? He says that, he's going to be sending troops to the border immediately, so
I did hear that. I did hear
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And
he's ready to hit the ground running. It's like he's ready today. Um, at his most recent rally, right? He said, Donald Trump said this regarding immigrants, and I quote, he says, as they come through, we'll detain them, we'll catch them, detain them, and then send them back to where they came from, end quote. What do you believe is going to be his priority entering office? Will it be stopping the flow of migrants coming through the border, or those who are already here?
well, I think he said it today. He did speak about the birthright issue, and he spoke about troops being at the southern border.
Mhm.
The southern border is probably going to be one of those top areas,
Right.
and things that they did run on to say they are going to ensure that the southern borders are not as porous as they appear to be now in their estimation. As it relates to troops, that's something that's up in the air, because some constitutional scholars are saying that the Constitution doesn't allow for troops to be used in the country.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
We'll see, because remember now that this government has all 3 branches of government, literally. They have the executive, they have the legislative, and the court system is also kind of skewed towards them. So there's a lot of wait and see, and I think that's probably going to make a lot of people anxious, which brings me to something that I think I want to just touch on quickly. Tips that people should probably think about. It's hard to say to people, don't get scared, because if you're in a vulnerable position, you are going to be hesitant. You are going to be afraid. And sometimes it's when people are hesitant and afraid and unsure of what's going to happen that we make bad decisions. So for example, this is the time now, and it happens throughout history. When things are uncertain, people who we now call the scammers come to the fore. So you have those people who call you up and say, Janet, you know, I can make you get your citizenship in 2 days. Or Nadine,
Yeah.
I can make you be sitting next to the president tomorrow. You have to be very yes, that's happening. And in fact, USCIS has an entire section that's directed to finding scams and telling people how to advise themselves properly against scams. So that's something very, very important. And in a community where you're not going to want to present yourself to a lawyer, or you're not going to want to be exposed because you think people might go talk that, you know, and such don't have any status or whatever.
Yeah.
Those people are especially vulnerable. So I caution persons to at least get good advice from lawyers. There are lots of nonprofits available that will offer you legal advice. Even or in immigration court proceedings, one of the rules is that the judge himself or herself must say to you, Miss, Sir, do you have a lawyer? No, here's a list of lawyers and other agencies that can assist you. So don't let people on the phone and tell her that you must go to Walmart and buy $100 gift card and send it to or call you and you must open up your Zelle and please, people, be very, very careful of that. Another thing is that it's gonna be now when you're submitting documents to USCIS or whatever government agency for immigration, they're gonna put more scrutiny on those documents. So you put more scrutiny on them. Whatever you're sending in, you're not going to check it twice. You're going to check it 3 times, and you're going to check it a 4th time to make sure everything is in order. Documents that have time sensitivity, so they send you something to say, we need it by January 31st. Make sure it get there by January 31st, because no one cares if it gets there February 1. The law says January.
Yeah.
Sometimes forget that deadlines are crucial. Think about it like they close the plane at 10 o'clock and they're not opening it back for you. Think about those deadlines like that. Also very important, I think, for people to recognize that there may well be another increase in fees. We don't know. We had an increase in before where almost all the immigration fees went up. Those may well be going up again, so we have to look out for that. So if you can get your application or whatever it is in ASAP, that would be very for persons. And of course, make sure you keep your documents. Make sure you keep your documents, even if you're working with a lawyer. When they're sending in documents, say, may I have a copy of all that you're sending? Because it's your case. I've done lots of cases where whatever happened in the past and now they come and I say, where's the copy that your lawyer gave you? Lawyer didn't give them any, they lost it, the reasons. This is not the time for us to be complacent. Go to Walmart and buy a folder and put everything in there and ask the lawyer for a copy. If you're sending it in yourself, also crucial. Make sure of whatever. They have spoken about the fact that they're gonna ramp up workplace raids. That's always happened, but they've been talking about that.
That's my other question. Because, you know, we've been hearing all kinds of horror stories that immigration officials like ICE can remove immigrant employees from their workplace. They can take children from classrooms.
Well, they're not gonna, well, in terms of the children, I've not read or seen any cases where they have taken any children, but certainly the law requires that if you're working somewhere and you're not American by some nature, you ought to have documentation. So if they come into your business place and John Brown is working there or Tom Strokes and they ask for your paperwork, you can actually lawfully work there and you don't have any, then the law says that those agents can take you into deportation and, you know, those proceedings start against you. So I remember, you know, the caution here is that one, just like any other law enforcement type agency, you do not need to speak to them. If they say they're taking you in, let them take you in. Call your family member, begin to get legal advice, that kind of thing. Don't decide that you're going to run because that might lead to other things.
Yeah, no.
Can escalate. You don't want that to happen because escalation can sometimes be very bad. But you don't need to speak to them. You can give them your name, but you don't need to give them any bill and receipt of yourself, as we would say in
Right.
Jamaica.
Wait for your lawyer. Yeah.
Titled regardless of your status to your right to silence. It's something that is as old as the hills. Regardless of your status in any country, if you don't want to speak, you do not have to do so. The law requires, and a lot of people don't know this, that if you're a green card holder, if you move from one address to another, you must advise USCIS within 10 days. I can't think of 2 people who do that. Nobody don't remember. But it's required. So
10 days, that's not enough time.
touch on that which the law requires, which is easy to do. The law also requires that green card holders have with them at all times, and it's subject to a fine if you don't, your green card. Lots of people don't even know that. But in this current climate, it's useful to make sure if they say, they indicate to you, well, listen, what's your status? You can show your documentation. And as I said, make sure that you make a plan, I guess, with family members, those of us who might have tenuous status in the country. A lot of organizations, like I'm a member of the Immigration Lawyers Association, and we've been telling people, listen, make a plan, tell somebody where your important documents are. If you can't pick up your children from school, God forbid, you make sure you have some arrangements in place, because a lot of things are going to happen, but people are still unsure as to exactly what is going to happen. But we have to be prepared. We can't stay and just keep hands. People have to be prepared.
Yeah.
I say try and get naturalized as soon as possible. If you're already a citizen and you have a mixed family, try and see how best other family members can get their status. For persons, for example, students, and many universities in the last few days of December were actually sending out statements to their students who are international students to come back to the States before January 20, because they didn't know what was going to happen. January 20 hasn't finished as yet, so we don't know what we wake up tomorrow morning to hear. So that's that as well. And international students, of course, must recognize and remember that if they come here and they're supposed to be going to school and they stop going to school, they drop out, they lose their status.
Oh.
Yes. If you're an international, you're coming to school. If you come and you stop going to school because you're working at XYZ place and the money sweet you, and that's extremely important, because now you don't, without that legal status, you can be put into that line for deportation. Students come because of culture shock, because of all sorts of things, they have issues. There are departments on your university campus, on your community college campus, to assist you. So don't just drop out and don't help. There are too many resources out there now for us to say, I didn't know, or what could I have done? Anything that I would like to leave your viewers with is get help. Don't just sit there and wring your hand. As we say in Jamaica, what if you do? Get help. There's good help out there, so you need to try and get good help to fix it.
I heard too that a lot of these there's lawsuits being filed against the Trump administration, from basic from organizations, that provide assistance to immigrant individuals. What do we know about these lawsuits? I mean, they sound like they would end up being frivolous, not really getting anywhere.
I just before I came on, there was an article on Yahoo that says that there have been, I think, 3 files so far, just between the inauguration and like
Yeah.
talk. But those were specific, not to like immigration. Those were specific to this department. I don't remember what it's called, DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, something like that, that the Trump administration wants to put in place. There are several organizations that are suing the administration because they're saying that that entity didn't follow the correct procedure. And that's just the first of many. But I don't
Mhm.
frivolous in the sense that people are thinking generally, because in the law, frivolous means it has no merit. There's no good basis
Mhm.
for the suit to be brought and for us to bring this suit. I think what is going to happen is it's going to play out, but between now and the end of the month, because I think they said they wanted to sign, they said 100 executive orders in the very next few days. So as those are being signed and being rolled out for the different departments, immigration, homeland security, then you will see organizations in the private sector and nonprofit sector making decisions about whether or not they're going to be filing lawsuits. So it's going to
Mm.
be next few days, I think.
Yeah, it is. I wanted to mention when you talk about the documents, about immigration documents and how meticulous, that we need to be. Um, I understand that AI will be taking over that process soon, and then it will become even more efficient, I believe,
Well,
because
as it stands
AI,
now, as it stands now, USCIS has said that they do have certain AI programs that deal with some of the applications that they get. As it is too efficient, not so sure. What's going to happen is that we're probably going to see a lot of our applications that are being filed, whether you're filing by a lawyer, you're filing by yourself, or you're using one of the many, many, many nonprofits or volunteer organization, we probably are going to see more denials because, for example, if you are submitting documents to the government and they are not of a certain size, if you're uploading it on the government's website and it's not of a certain size, it can't be uploaded. You have to fix that. So you're going to have that kind of savvy to realize that, oh, I can't upload a document because it's 25 megabytes, it has to be 24. But that's just something very simple, but that's really something that the whole AI thing is kind of driving. But you're also going to have the issues where, for example, we know that to become a naturalized citizen, you have to have been here in the States for a minimum of 4 years and 9 months if you didn't get your green card via
just
marriage.
4 years?
4 years and 9 months.
Oh, okay. Okay.
If you haven't got the green card via marriage. You got the green card via marriage, it can be 2 years and 9 months, the 3 year.
Okay. Okay.
If you submit your documents before that time, they're going to send it back. So you may well have more of those. So those are the kind of things I think that they will probably just push to the machine to do, or whatever system they have on their servers to do. But certainly AI is not going to be replacing the interview that you have to do for your citizenship.
Right. Okay.
The interview that you have to do for your green card if you are here seeking to get your green card without going home. And certainly, I believe we will still have the interviewers in the consulates in the different countries. I don't think
Yeah,
AI.
definitely. But the processing of the paperwork, I believe that AI is efficient to a point,
Like
to a
everything else,
very high degree.
has the good and the bad. So we have
Yeah.
to, I think one of the things that we have to recognize is that let our application be the one that just goes through without any problems. And in
Right.
order to
Yeah.
do that, you have to make sure you check all the boxes and
Mhm, mhm.
everything that is needed in your application. And it's crucial if you have deadlines. A lot of
Mhm.
things in immigration are driven by deadlines. So if they, as I said earlier, if they say it should come by the 2nd of February and it reaches 3rd of February, that's a problem because the law says it should come the 2nd of February.
Right.
So you
Okay.
have to be aware of that.
Okay, so Nadine, at this point, we don't know what's going to happen. We have to wait, right?
Yes,
Wait
ma'am.
and
That wait and see pattern. But I think
yeah.
before it's finished, we will see some of those executive orders being pushed out. We'll see them in the news and get a feeling as to what's going to happen in the next few days. Because
So what would you like to leave our viewers with as far as those that are concerned about their immigration status? Those that have been here for a very long time are still very much concerned. And of course, those who haven't been and those who are undocumented, I can't imagine what they're going through.
I would say that persons should try and get good information.
Mhm.
Because if you get good information, you are arming yourself with knowledge. Knowledge is power.
Okay. Okay.
It doesn't matter then what status you are in, because you can know what is available and what is not available.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of, they like to say misinformation out there. Be careful of the misinformation.
Yeah.
Help is available in lots and lots of states, and try and avail yourselves of those. And if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. There are persons, organizations that will tell you they can help you for a fee to do this and to do that and to do blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
But you never heard about this thing anywhere at all. And all of a sudden they're saying, oh yeah, give me, and especially when they start telling you about giving them this and giving them that, want to an interview, you don't need to do this. They can help you to get fake papers. They can do all of those things. Be very, very cautious.
I know that's going to be ramped up. I mean, they're going to, we're going to
Very
see a lot of
cautious,
those. I know. Yeah.
because desperation in people make them make bad choices.
Yeah, exactly.
And we want to make sure that persons can make good choices and can live that American dream that everybody says that they want to have. But
Yeah.
if you make bad choices because somebody told you nonsense, then you're gonna have a problem. And remember, it's not, I mean, the problem is you alone. Them run gone with your
Yes,
money.
right.
So
Yeah.
be very careful and make good choices. But make good choices, get good information, get good help from credible sources. Get good
Yeah,
help.
absolutely.
I think that would be my parting comment.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Nadine.
You're
As
most welcome.
usual, you are
Take
so
good care.
informative. Thank
Thank you.
you. And
All
we
right.
hope to meet again. All right. Take
Absolutely.
care.
Take good care now. Bye.
Bye-bye now.